Hey guys, today we're going to start talking about our next unit, which is energy and metabolism. So we're going to start out by talking about carbohydrates. All the things that you see here are yummy carbs. They're the things that your mom might have given up whenever she tried to do the Atkins diet or a paleo diet. All these, like I said, are yummy carbs. And the cool thing about life here on Earth is that all life is based around the carbon atom. Everything that has ever been living has some carbon in it. Now, carbon can form 4 types of bonds. It can form a single, a double, or a triple bond. And it can also form bonds with other carbon atoms. Now, whenever these molecules bond together, one single molecule is what we call a monomer. And whenever we put a lot of them together, we get a polymer. So if you look here we have a monomer, but whenever we put more than one of them together, it's a polymer. Break down the words. Mono means one, poly means many. So one molecule or many molecules. You can also think of it like this. Here we have 3 monomers. We put them all together, we build this gigantic castle, and it's a polymer. Carbohydrates are compounds that contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and they're built from the carbon that's found in CO2, or carbon dioxide. We use them for some quick energy, to store some energy, and also for structure. Some examples are sugars, starches, and cellulose. Cellulose is found in cell walls, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Names for sugars usually end in "-ose". One of your vocab words is the suffix "-ose". "-ose" means sugar. So glucose, fructose. Here we have fructose. You hear about high fructose corn syrup? There you go, it's right there. Sucrose. Sucrose is sugar. It's the same thing that your mama puts in the sweet tea whenever she makes it. Maltose. Maltose is what makes malt beer. Now, whenever we build these carbs, we're going to synthesize them. So we take 2 carbohydrate molecules or 2 sugar molecules, and we put them together. And when we do, a molecule of water is expelled. So we have glucose and fructose. Whenever we put them together, we get sucrose, which is table sugar.
Wayne Miller, if you're in the building, please call 101.
One sugar is called a monosaccharide. Mono again means one. Saccharide means sugar, so it's a 1 sugar molecule. So glucose and fructose are both monosaccharides. When we put them together and we get 2 saccharides, we get a disaccharide. Now, then we also have big carbohydrates. These are called polysaccharides. Remember, poly means many. These are things like starch. Starch is used to store energy in plants like potatoes. Whenever you boil some potatoes and you get all that foamy water up on top, that's because of the starch that's being released from the potato. Glycogen is what we use to store energy. It's found in our liver and our muscles. And then cellulose is what gives plants their structure, and it's found in their cell walls. Now, if you take a look here, we just see glucose plus glucose plus glucose plus glucose plus glucose plus glucose. So a bunch of monosaccharides put together equal a polysaccharide. So here we see a bunch of monosaccharides being put together to create the starch that is found in a plant. Same thing here. We have a bunch of monosaccharides that are put together to form glycogen, which is a polysaccharide that is found in our liver and muscles. Now, let's talk about how we digest starch versus how we digest cellulose. So starch is really easy to digest because if you look at it, we can just break down these little pieces. So an enzyme comes along and breaks it down. But if we have cellulose, cellulose is harder to digest. The enzyme comes along and, well, it doesn't digest it. This is why whenever you eat corn, you poop out corn. Because the cellulose found in those corn kernels is impossible for us to digest. We don't have anything to digest it. Now, cellulose makes up the cell walls in plants. Herbivores are organisms that can digest the cellulose really well, but most carnivores can't. So we call this cellulose roughage or fiber. It stays undigested and it keeps material moving through your intestines. So even though we can't digest it, it's really good for us to eat it because it keeps everything flowing. Now, if we take a look at some different herbivores, first, let's talk about cows. They are really good at digesting cellulose. So they don't have to eat any other sugars because they can break down that cellulose into what they need. But a gorilla is an herbivore that can't digest cellulose very well. So it has to add another sugar source, like fruit. So then we ask, well, how can cows digest the cellulose so well? It's because they have special bacteria that live in their stomachs and they help to digest that cellulose. They're also called ruminants, which means that they have multiple stomachs. So whenever a cow eats, he then chokes up his cud and he chews it again and swallows it back down. Whereas us, we swallow once and we're good. So that's it for carbs. Make sure that you've completed all the vocab. I can tell you that a lot of the vocab was covered today and that you've completed all of your blanks. And I'll see you guys next time.